We're live, baby. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on YouTube as well as on X. I am Bryson Carver, as always. It is great to be with you. It's been a minute since we've gone live on this show. Matter of fact, I've got an earbud in. Take that out because I'll need that once Arthur Hurst joins us in about 30 minutes or so. He'll be joining to detail, what he thinks about some of these playoff matchups. There's the 4-5s in the East and West. Now, it's going to sound like conventional wisdom. Oh, yeah, 4-5, closest seeding should be the closest matchups. I went back and forth on some of these. Clippers Nuggets, I think, might end up being the best series of the first round. Get to those series, obviously, in a half hour with Arthur. Excited to get to that. At the end of the show, my NBA awards. So first team, second team, third team All-NBA, MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year, all the awards. We're going to be discussing that. I'll give you my list if I had a vote, of course, at the end of the show. Talk about Nico Harrison in about 10 to 12 minutes because what is happening right now in Dallas in regards to just the not just gaslighting, but not giving any coherent reason as to why they traded Luka Doncic 2.5 months ago. I think that this press conference at Nico Hill with no cameras, no microphones, I think said a lot about what could potentially be going on behind the scenes. 3 possibilities related to Nico. Get to that in about 10 to 12 minutes. But first, are we in September, October? Because Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee Show the other day to talk about his future in the National Football League. And he covered a number of issues, as he tends to do over the course of his hour with my man, Mr. McAfee. And he was talking about how there's some stuff about how he's not totally committed to playing. He could retire, but he still would like to play for $10 million. Pittsburgh he's on the board with. But there's 2 aspects of the conversation he had with McAfee that I really wanted to hit on. The first part is him discussing Aaron Glenn, who's the new head coach of the Jets, the meeting he had with Aaron Glenn to talk about his future with the organization. So just the transcript of this, if I can pull up here on my phone. So he's talked about his time with the Jets, and this is his quote. "That was an interesting 2 years, to say the least, but I figured that when I flew across the country on my own dime, to meet with the team, by the way, that there was going to be a conversation. And the confusing thing to me and the strange thing was when I went out there and I met with the coach, we start talking. He runs out of the room. I've flown across the country, and 20 seconds in, he goes and leans to the edge of his seat and says, 'So you want to play football?' And I'm like, 'Yeah, I'm interested.' And he was like, 'We're going in a different direction at quarterback.'" End quote. And Aaron Rodgers proceeds to talk about it's kind of a tense back and forth he had with Aaron Glenn. Do you know who I am? I don't know who you are. That sort of thing. So listen, Aaron Glenn hasn't coached a down with the Jets yet. So if the Jets organization allows him to coach this team, I think actually can be very successful. We'll see how that plays out as time goes on. This is a classic example. This is what a lot of gaslighters do. They will present to you a half-truth where it's like, I mean, they're not wrong about X or whatever the case may be, but in the back of your head, you're like, this isn't the full truth, though. Aaron Rodgers is 1,000% correct that this is a dysfunctional franchise. They don't know what they're doing, and Woody Johnson is the head of that snake. And had Aaron never played a snap of football with the Jets, he never signs there, it never happens, they would have still been dysfunctional in 2023 and 2024. There's no question about that. It'd be intellectually dishonest to say otherwise. What I can't get behind is Aaron, as he always does. You can go back to his Green Bay days, now with the Jets, where it is always someone else's fault. McAfee is kind of his outlet. McAfee's one of the biggest sports shows going right now. That is his outlet to declare to the masses, whatever bad things are going on behind the scenes, just know I have nothing to do with them in any way, shape, or form. And so Aaron acting as if he was just an innocent bystander as the darn quarterback of this team as all this mess was happening, the coach firings, GM firings, guys they brought in obviously at the behest of Aaron, offensive linemen, wide receivers, quarterback coaches, offensive coordinator who we knew was the worst offensive coordinator in the league when they brought him in. All of these different things. The fact that Aaron is acting as if, or the idea that Aaron is acting as if he was completely had nothing to do with this is absurd. And so I will say, though, in his defense, because I want to be fair on this show. I've been critical of Aaron, but I do want to also be fair. It'd be one thing if the Jets flew in to see Aaron according to Aaron Rodgers flew in to see the Jets. So, this is not a situation where, again, the Jets come to Aaron in his, I believe he lives in Malibu, his palatial estate, Malibu, and they're like, hey, we're going in a different direction at quarterback. They made Aaron fly there, and people can say, oh, well, what about the damage he did with the Jets? You got to be professional, though. I get it. I've been as critical of Aaron as anybody with his time with the Jets and in the NFL in general. You got to be professional about it, though. And I love Aaron Glenn, and I'm not so certain that this was his idea or Woody Johnson's idea, whoever it was. You got to be more professional about it. My issue with Aaron discussing the Jets is he acts as if he's just had nothing to do with it. Oh my gosh, like all the stuff. Like I saw a lot of things behind the scenes. You have no idea. Yeah, I bet he did. But I'd say it was also quite difficult to be in a situation where, you had something to do with it. Robert Saleh was fired 5 games in the season despite being like a game out of first place in the division. Sure, Aaron wasn't ignorant to that. I'm sure Aaron had absolutely nothing to do with Devontae Adams being a Jet, Alan Lazar being a Jet. I think they brought an offensive lineman to be a Jet, Tim Boyle to be a Jet, the offensive coordinator of the Jets. What's my man's name? Forgetting the offensive coordinator's name. Bringing him in, Nat Hackett. All these guys in the Jets showing he had the control in that franchise. So to act as if he was completely had nothing to do with that was absurd. The other part I want to discuss about Aaron's interview with McAfee the other day is he talked about how he's considering retirement and how he's thought about it. And he doesn't want to be tied to anything necessarily. I don't. One of his quotes was, "I don't feel like I'm holding anybody hostage," which was in reference to my Pittsburgh Steelers. So listen, Aaron also discussed in this interview how, there's some stuff going on, family and loved ones, I'm putting more of my attention into that than I am football right now, which to that I say, God bless you. Got no problems with that. But respectfully at the same time, Aaron Rodgers is not the only guy who has stuff going on in his personal life. Who doesn't, for the record? Forget the NFL. Who doesn't have something going on personally speaking? So empathize with Aaron. I hope everything ends up being okay on that front. But that does not mean we are on April 18th now, 6 days out of the NFL draft, when teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers very well could be drafting a quarterback. I am crossing my fingers that Shedeur Sanders falls to Pittsburgh at 21. My guess is, you saw my mock draft, it's on YouTube now, 2.0, that I think Shedeur is going to be a Saint. Before it's all said and done with the 9th overall pick. Who knows? Maybe the Steelers reach with Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. I don't know. But teams that could be interested in Aaron, the Minnesota Vikings, well, they want to see if J.J. McCarthy's got it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I feel like it seems to be trending in the direction that they do draft a quarterback. Fingers crossed that it's Shedeur. I don't really believe in the other two. And so it's, at this point in time, the people I'm disappointed with are not necessarily even Aaron. I get why Aaron's holding out. By the way, he's not with the team right now. It's not like he's with the Jets still and he's looking for a trade. Aaron Rodgers is not in the National Football League as of right now, but he can do whatever the heck he wants. My issue more than anything is with Pittsburgh. The fact that a once great franchise, the standard is the standard, I've been told, has been kowtowing and waiting and seeing what will happen. And they had a meeting with Aaron Rodgers not that long ago, and Aaron Rodgers said that it went pretty well. And I'm sure Mike Tomlin would say the same thing. Okay, then why don't you bring him in? Well, Aaron's got some things going on in his personal life. Okay, fine. That's fine. But we need to move in a different direction because we need an answer. Because God bless Mason Rudolph. He's a good backup, but that's not the answer long-term at quarterback. I would actually, if they don't like the options at quarterback in this year's draft, folks, I would be totally fine if they put out Mason Rudolph for 17 games, go 6-11, and get a high draft pick in 2026. I would not be against that at all. I think the Steelers have been addicted to mediocrity for the last decade plus. And at this point, it would be nice to kind of bottom out. And so the whole no losing season, it's great. It does not help you or get you any closer to a championship than you were previously. And so that's kind of where I'm at with Pittsburgh. And by the way, you can say, well, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's better than Mason Rudolph. Okay. Again, God bless Mason. It's not saying much. And for the record, this is not the old, I feel like a broken record saying this because I've been saying it for years on this show. But this is not the same Aaron Rodgers that we've seen in years past. We can show you the numbers since 2022, and that includes a Green Bay season in there, folks. By the way, we took out the Achilles game in 2023. Averages about 220 passing yards per game, 56 touchdowns and 23 picks. Completes about 63% of his throws, pass rate 90. It's fine. 8 games under 500. He's 13-21. That's not very good. He has not won a playoff game since COVID and has not been a Pro Bowler since 2021. Folks, I was in high school at that time. And folks might say, well, he got hot at the end of last season. And if you look at his season totals, hey, you say the Jets were dysfunctional, had bad coaching, yada, yada, yada. And Aaron Rodgers was 7th in touchdown passes. He actually came on pretty strong at the end of the year. Because I saw a graphic, I think CBS Sport, I don't want to misquote. It was CBS, it was some major sports outlet put this on there. That, if I can pull this up here, that Aaron Rodgers has had last year more passing touchdowns than the following quarterbacks: Hurts, Stroud, Stafford, Herbert, Daniels, Love, Mahomes. He had as many passing touchdowns as the MVP of the league, Josh Allen. So going back to intellectual honesty here. Can we sit down and be honest with ourselves? Because this reminds me a little bit of Russell Wilson's last year in Denver. Remember when Russ had that good year in Denver? Like, man, he could make the Steelers a real... No. Do we really think that Aaron Rodgers is on the level of Jaden Daniels, Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts? Mahomes and Josh Allen, that's silly. But do we really believe deep down that a guy 8 games under 500 to 2022, one of those being, by the way, with a Matt LaFleur coach team, he's pretty good. The Packers receivers are pretty good. The Packers organization is pretty good, And so, listen, we can bag the Jets, and we should. They're a horribly run organization. I think the Cleveland Browns are at the bottom of my list as it pertains to how teams do business in the NFL. They're as bad as they come. At the same time, it looks like this at the end in Green Bay. He dissed Brian Gutekunst, the GM. He would take shots at Matt LaFleur. He would not work out with wide receivers. He would take shots at receivers. This has always been the Aaron Rodgers experience. He has been the common denominator in all of this. And the Steelers are just waiting for his decision. If you want to get an older, past his prime quarterback who is still productive, Aaron is still productive. He's certainly not the player he used to be, but he's fine. He's a starter. Just go trade for Kirk Cousins. Hey, give Atlanta a 5th, 6th round pick. Just go take a flyer on Kirk Cousins, then draft your guy next year. If you're addicted to mediocrity, do that. I said the same thing before Russell Wilson signed with the Giants. If you want to sign old, past their prime quarterbacks, at least sign the guy who's familiar to the offense and familiar with DK Metcalf. But no, they didn't do that either. Because I think what is becoming more and more apparent by the day is that the Pittsburgh Steelers appear to be somewhat unserious about addressing the quarterback position, or at least unserious about the quarterback position's impact on a football team. And to me, the real fork in the road moment that nobody talks about with Pittsburgh as it relates to their quarterback journey post Big Ben, it actually happens when Big Ben is still a Steeler. So we're talking 2019 season. The Steelers are 2 games in. They're 0-2. I think they lost. I know they lost the Week 2 game to Seattle. The reason I know that is because Big Ben injured his elbow in that game, had season-ending surgery, missed the last 14 games. And the Steelers had an opportunity to make a choice. We can let this season play out the way it plays out. Obviously try and win as many games as possible, but we know we're not a championship contender now that Big Ben's down, and see if we can address it in the draft. In what was one of the strongest quarterback drafts in NFL history, 2021. Middle of that season, the year before, you know what the Pittsburgh Steelers did? They did not even have a first-round pick because they traded it for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick's an excellent player, team leader. He's really good. It makes the Steelers' defense better. He's an excellent player. But think about what the Steelers could have missed out on. That was a draft that included the following quarterbacks. See if you've heard of them. Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. Pretty good draft. And the Steelers could have taken, who knows? Maybe they would have been bad enough to get a Justin Herbert. They certainly would have been, Jordan Love certainly would have been on the board to be available. So would Jalen Hurts. And no, they missed on all of them. And I have questions about their ability to develop a quarterback. And so that's probably why they're fishing for Aaron Rodgers right now. And so, listen, I've got my issues with Aaron, but I wish him nothing but the best. I hope whatever's going on in his personal life gets resolved, whatever that may be. But that does not mean the Steelers are obligated to wait on him. And the fact that they are says a lot about this franchise and makes me deeply concerned about the immediate future as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So that was kind of my takeaway from the Aaron Rodgers interview with McAfee. I thought it was there were half-truths, particularly about the Jets organization being unprofessional, not doing it the right way. They never have. There's a reason they haven't been in the playoffs since 2010. But that's kind of where we're at with him and his relationship with the Jets is really in where he's at in the NFL. And I think at this point, listen, it's talking about the Steelers, greatest coach of Steelers history. Chuck Noll said it best. If you're already talking about retirement, you're probably already retired. So leave it at that. So also too, and it's great to be live with you guys right now. So please chime in the comments if you so choose. Arthur Hurst will be joining us in about 15 minutes to discuss the NBA playoffs. And I did want to shift to the NBA to a team that could be in the playoffs. They have a game tonight in Memphis, the Dallas Mavericks. Winner of that game gets the reward of being the 8th seed facing 68-win 1 seed Oklahoma City. And for my skepticisms of Oklahoma City in certain spots, I'm going to go out on a limb. We'll predict the series later officially. They should be favored significantly to win their first round series, to say the very least. So we'll see if Dallas gets in. I think it'd be something for the fans to get behind at the very least if they get in the postseason. It's something. Anthony Davis is a great player. You never know. But Nico Harrison had a press conference on, I believe it was Wednesday, and it was there were no cameras allowed. There were no microphones allowed. It was just this. We're talking old school, baby. We're talking pen and pad. If you want to get a quote from Nico Harrison, you better write that puppy down. And Tim McMahon, and by the way, shout out to Tim McMahon. I actually got a book of his recently. He came out of the book recently. I think it was called The Wonder Boy, which is about Luka Doncic. And ironically, that book came out days after the Lakers trade. And so it's almost like it was almost perfectly timed. It was like almost poorly timed because of the Lakers trade, but also perfectly timed because it's like, hey, here's his whole Dallas Mavericks career as outlined by Tim McMahon. And so I'm reading it right now. It's really good. And so I'm excited to see how it develops. But Tim McMahon was, as any great journalist would, held Nico Harrison's feet to the fire, the GM of the Mavericks, who made this shocking, inexplicable move, trading Luka to the Lakers. So Nico Harrison, and we'll get into the quotes aspect of it, but just because I don't want to read this whole thing, it's boring. Basically, what Nico was saying is PJ Washington, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, like this is a championship core. This team can compete for the finals, yada, yada, yada. So Tim McMahon asked the question, quote, "You've got an outraged fan base." Coming right at him. It's been outraged since the day you made the trade. The overwhelming majority opinion of your fan base is that they want you fired. How do you respond to that, and why do you believe that Patrick Dumont should not take them up on that advice? Patrick Dumont is the owner of the Mavericks, Nico Harrison. Quote, "Well, the beauty of Dallas is it is a passionate fan base. For us to reach our goals, we need that fan base. And to be honest with you, every trade I've made since I've been here has not been regarded as a good trade. And so sometimes it takes time." And then Nico Harrison says in response, Tim McMahon says in response, "So in your own words, you created a 3 to 4 year time frame. In building a finals team, a team that went to the finals last season, you gave up your first round capital of control of it for 2027, 28, 29, and 30. So 3 to 4 years ends, you're out on your first round draft capital. How is that a logical decision?" Nico Harrison, "I keep saying the same thing, but defense wins championships. I believe that we have a championship caliber team, not only for now, but also for the future." Tim McMahon, "And you didn't believe that the team that went to the finals last year with Luka as a centerpiece could continue to contend for championships?" Nico Harrison, "I'll say this again. Defense wins championships." Okay. That pretty much sums it up. I think there are 3 possibilities that, and none of them are good, by the way. So if for any Mavs fan watching or listening, shout out to Tyler Reddington at the Grid Network. Diehard Mavs fan has just been devastated since this trade was made. But I think there are 3 possibilities why Nico Harrison made this move. And again, all of them are bad. The first of which is the most simplistic. He's just horrible at his job. He's incompetent. He knows nothing about basketball. I don't think that's fully true. Again, go back to half truth talking about the New York Jets earlier. I don't think that's fully true. I think the PJ Washington move, the Daniel Gafford move last year, which helped propel Dallas to the finals, those were integral role players. Those were good moves, and Nico Harrison deserved credit, and I gave him credit on the show at the time that he made those moves. So I don't think he's an idiot. We've seen far worse GMs in the NBA, even with contenders. And so I don't think that's the problem right now for the Dallas Mavericks. So the most simplistic reason Nico made this move of the 3 that I'm presenting is that he's just incompetent, knows nothing about what he's doing. The second of which is he's just serving as he's protecting the owner, Patrick Dumont, that this was a product of Patrick Dumont's thinking. He believes, hey, Luka's drinking too much. Luka doesn't take the offseason seriously. We're going to trade him, and we're going to build a defense-first team around Anthony Davis, and Kyrie will be our primary ball handler and scorer. Okay, maybe that's the case, but that to me might be the worst possibility for Mavs fans, because then you have, in the same city, you have Jerry Jones, essentially, where nobody can come to him and overrule him, or at least give him advice that he might consider that can improve the team, and you're stuck. You are just stuck as a franchise, which the Dallas Cowboys have been for some time. The Dallas Mavericks might be in a very similar situation if Nico Harrison is completely, I shouldn't say completely innocent, he made the move, but is the guy who, this was not his idea, but the owner is his boss, and he did it because the owner told him to. So that's the second possibility, and probably the worst case scenario for Mavs fans until Patrick Dumont sells the team, if this was Dumont's idea. The third of which, and I don't know if this has been broached yet, and listen, Tim McMahon, again, to quote him again, covering the Mavs, he mentioned that Dirk Nowitzki, obviously the greatest Mav ever, has really distanced himself from this franchise and all these different things. So he said he's going to come out with an article whenever Dallas' season ends, which reminds me a little bit of when the Shams came out with the Lakers article once the season ended about Darvin Ham. Point of that is all to say this third possibility is that Nico Harrison, and because Luka did an interview with Malika Andrews, it was recently, it came out today, where he showed a damaged phone that he threw against the wall, that he still uses, by the way, when he found out about the Dallas Mavericks trade, or Los Angeles Lakers trade. And he talked about his fractured relationship with Nico. Hasn't spoken to him since the deal. That's not surprising. Is it on the board? Maybe Tim McMahon will come out with something. Someone else will come out with something. Is it on the board that Nico Harrison, Luka Doncic maybe didn't have the greatest relationship in the world? And it's fine if they're not best friends. But Nico, it got so bad where Nico let that override the long-term goal for the Mavs, which is to compete for a championship, which, by the way, they were, again, we keep saying, in the finals less than a year ago. Maybe that came into the fray, which, again, that's a bad situation for Mavs fans, too. Either our GM is incompetent, completely incompetent, knows nothing what he's doing. I think that's the least likely. As bad as this trade was, Nico has made some good moves. I think that's the least likely of the possibilities. The two most likely, outside of that, Nico and Luka had a bad relationship, and Nico was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to win this power play, and you're out of here. And I'm going to try and end up being right in all this and put a championship contender together, which thus far it's blown up in smoke, mostly with the Kyrie Irving injury. And then the third of which would be the worst case scenario for Mavs fans, is that Patrick Dumont is a power-hungry owner, i.e. Matt Ishbia with the Phoenix Suns, cross-sport like Jerry Jones, same city, Jerry Jones with Dallas Cowboys, where nobody can overrule him. He makes up his mind, and that's how it is. Nico Harrison just made the move for the owner. That's the worst case scenario for Mavs fans. So either way, it's all bad. The press conference was a disastrous look for Nico, a disastrous look for the Mavs. And, now Luka Doncic is motivated to win a title. And I thought it was interesting when Malika asked him about the whole, did you want to, and we feel like we've heard this a million times from everybody, did you want to retire a Dallas Maverick? And he said, and he almost like smirked, but he said, he's like, of course. And one of the things that I've noticed in reading this book about Luka by Tim McMahon is, because I'm like right till at the end of Luka's rookie season in the book. And what becomes apparent, and what folks who know Luka have talked about, is he's not a naturally trusting person. It takes a long time for him to kind of warm up to people. And that's very typical for child prodigies, which Luka was in Slovenia. And so maybe that got in the way of Nico and Luka's relationship. But I think it's all bad for the Mavericks. That's what we do know. And whether they make the playoffs or not, it's irrelevant. They obviously have no chance to contend this year. They have a very slim chance to contend next year, because obviously all pulling for Kyrie Irving's health, but he is getting older. He does have an injury history. You know who else does? Anthony Davis. Maybe you should have kept Luka Doncic. Just throwing it out there. All right. Arthur Hurst will be joining us in about 2 minutes or so. We'll go to break for just a second, come back with him and discuss NBA playoff matchups, who wins these series, kind of the things we're looking for, some of the X factors. Very excited to get to that. Arthur Hurst, Grid Network contributor. He was on with us last month. He'll be joining us right after today's break, or right after this break. Don't miss. It'll be fun. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. It is great to be. I've done so many pre-recorded shows since I've been down here in Orlando doing the Disney College program, which has been an incredible experience. I've loved every second of it. But it is so good to be back live doing the show, being able to react to y'all's feedback. So joining us, he was on about a month ago, I guess, or so. Listen. Made his debut in dramatic fashion. I thought we were talking about women's college basketball at the time, and he mentioned how if Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are the new Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, then Juju Watkins is the Michael Jordan of the story. I thought that was one of the smartest points that I've heard in regards to the women's basketball discussion. He is joining us once again. He's a Grid Network contributor. Would you please welcome back to Carving Up Live? It is Arthur Hurst. Arthur, my man, how are you doing today?
What's going on, BC? How we doing?
I'm doing well. I must say, I'm not crazy about the hat that you're wearing as a Red Sox fan. I'm not crazy about it. But we'll let it slide today.
Yeah, I'll do that.
How are you feeling? But yeah, that's better. Backwards hat. I never saw it. I never saw it. So first of all, this is like Christmas Day. NBA playoffs begin this weekend. How are you feeling about that? We'll get into the matchups, but how are you feeling about just kind of the energy going to the playoffs this year?
Finally, but I'm not going to lie. It feels like it's been a very long sports season in general. I don't know about you, but it feels like it feel like to me, there was conversation with Carmelo Anthony on his podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, where he talked about wanting the season shortened and stuff like that. And then after I heard that, I just leaned back and I said, dang, like this season has been going on for seems like a very long time. I don't know if it's because of the drama that's happened, the ridiculous amount of coaching changes, the amount of trades we had, and things of that nature. So it was just like, wow, like we're still not in the playoffs, and we're still technically not in the playoffs because we still have 2 play-in games tonight. So it's just like, wow, like this. It's been a long season, but I'm amped up, man. I'm amped up because we get to see a lot of matchups that at the beginning of the year, I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And in the middle of the year, it's like, it's still not going to happen. And now it's just like, okay, this is going to be exciting, right? This is going to be fun. And, I just hope all the teams are ready to compete.
I'm excited as you are. And listen, you're a Lakers fan, I'm a Warriors fan. Both of our teams obviously have an excellent chance to go on a real run here. So let's start in the Eastern Conference. Basically, the way we're going to do it is when the first game is played. So like tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, you got Bucks and Indiana Pacers. So they actually faced last year in the first round. Indiana won that series, I think, in 6 games. Giannis didn't play a single dribble. So Dame was hurt. Dame could potentially come back in the series. It's been kind of a miraculous recovery from his blood clot situation. But Giannis, as of late, Arthur, has been quietly on an absolute tear. He's been the best player in the league for the last 2-3 weeks. What are you looking at in this series? I know Indiana is a run-and-gun offensive team. They won 50 games, Halliburton and Siakam. What do you kind of look at in this series, and who do you think has the edge?
I'm looking for Indiana to take advantage of the fact that Dame will be out. He's not coming back game 1. That's what the reports are saying. If he can come back afterwards, that'll be great for Milwaukee. But you still got to think about, dang, am I going to get Damian Lillard? This is a blood clot situation, right? This isn't just some regular injury where, okay, I can come back and I'm back to my, nah, dude, this was bad. Like you had no choice but to sit down. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking for Indiana to, Giannis is going to be Giannis, but will Brook Lopez be able to do what he does? Right, will Kyle Kuzma be able to step up because he's had to take on that second option role, right? And you don't have really a defensive power. You don't have a defensive minded guard like you did with Drew Holiday, to where Halliburton can be contained. So look for Halliburton to be able to push the pace with Indiana. I'm looking forward to seeing how they'll be able to get to the paint with still Brook Lopez in there, but as long as if they can win game 1, I'm gonna give Indiana the edge. But if Milwaukee is able to win game 1 and then Dame comes back and then Dame, God willing, is still Damian Lillard, then I'm looking at Indiana's like, it's a long series, 7 games, right? 1 or 2 games doesn't win you the series, right? But I still look at Indiana and say, now you might have missed your chance if you let Milwaukee get the first 2 games and their second best player wasn't even playing in the first one. And not only that, their second best player isn't who we expected him to be. He can still give you 20.
Right.
And that's still a nice little pitching. And Kyle Kuzma can give you 15 to 20. And then that's where it's like, wait, hang on a second. Like, Indiana, what are y'all doing? Y'all got Halliburton, you got Miles Turner, you got TJ McConnell coming off the bench, you got Nimhar, you got all
Siakam.
Siakam. So it's like, wait, how did y'all let that slip to your fingers? So
No question. And I think, to me, the X factor in the series has to be Bobby Portis. He just recently came back for Milwaukee. He's going to be absolutely huge. I think there's going to be nights where they're going to need him to be the second scorer along with Giannis. You mentioned Kyle Kuzma, who's sort of taken that Chris Middleton role. But, man, could they have – if there's one series where they would just give anything to have Drew Holiday back, this would be the one. I think Halliburton's going for like 26 and 11 throughout the course of the series. With that being said, I don't trust Indiana defensively. I think Giannis, this run that he's been on has been kind of understated. Now, some of it, they've beaten a lot of bad teams, there's Phoenix Suns in there, but I think he's been off the charts. He's averaging like 40 and 9 recently. I'm actually going with the Bucks in the upset in 6. Vegas really likes Indiana. They're clearly the better team. I at this point, some of this is just me saying I need to see Giannis win a playoff series. I know how great he is, obviously, 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, but I heard this the other day where Giannis has not won a playoff game in 3 years. Has not appeared in the playoffs in 2 years. So we kind of need that big time Giannis playoff moment. I get it's the first round, but I'll go Bucks in 6 in this series. I think you can make the case that if he were there last year that they would have beaten Indiana because some of those games were down to the wire close. Now the Pacers, a year older, you factor that in as well. And I certainly have many questions about Doc Rivers, to say the very least. Our friend Patrick Brown at the Grid Network, shout out to Patrick, says that Doc Rivers is the most terrifying thing in sports. Doc Rivers in a playoff series. So that might have been Barry. It was Barry or Patrick. One of the two said that. Either way, it's true. It's a terrifying sight. So moving in the Western Conference, this to me could end up being the best series, Arthur, is LA Clippers, Denver Nuggets. So listen, again, I think this is like the Bucks Pacers series, but on steroids, where the Clippers are not top to bottom, because at the top you got Jokic, but from 2 on down are clearly the better team in this series. Because Kawhi's been on again, we talk about guys just recently going on streaks. Kawhi Leonard's looking like 2019 Kawhi Leonard when he was with the Toronto Raptors. He's looking like that guy that if he's got it rolling, we know he can give you defensively still. The mid-range is cooking. He's probably one of the most naturally strong players in the last decade in the NBA, just pound for pound. Can get to the rim at will, free throw shooting. James Harden's been balling. He dropped 39 on my Warriors to help get the Clippers to the playoffs. Norman Powell, people were saying Powell should be an all-star. Ivica Zubac has developed. Ty Lue is the better coach. Like, everything tells me pick the Clippers. But Denver has the better player, has the best player in the series. Jokic has been, Bill Simmons recently said, I voted for Jokic because he had the greatest offensive season in NBA history. And you can make that case just based on his efficiency alone. Jamal Murray in the playoffs. What are you looking at in this series? Because I do feel like the Clippers do match up extremely well against Denver with their size and Zubac and with their perimeter length.
I'm looking for James Harden to be James Harden. I'm talking about that old James Harden, the James Harden that we saw against Golden State. The Clippers went 18-3. Those are their last 21 games. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect Kawhi to just push. He was like, you know what? Let me push the pedal to the metal real quick. Right? James Harden followed behind. The entire team followed behind. But this also just goes to show Ty Lue is still one of the best coaches in the league. He just had unfortunate situations happen with his team, whether it's injuries, whether it's Paul George leaving, right? Whether it's management just having all of these question marks, because we thought coming into 2020, this team was just going to run LA. It was going to be one of the best teams consistently in the NBA. It was going to win a title. So it's like there were all these expectations set that they haven't met yet. I'll give them that grace, right? And Ty Lue has I'm happy they've been patient with him. Anybody else, we knew they would have been gone. Right? Like, this is the day and age where coaches get blamed. So I'm happy that the Clippers have decided to be patient with Ty Lue and giving him the time he needs with whatever team he's had, and he's been able to make it work. So I believe I'm on the opposite end. I think the Clippers are going to win this one. One, because again, Kawhi Leonard, defensive minded, one of the greatest two-way players in the game. James Harden, if we get vintage him, that would be huge. Zubac, right? They have bodies to be able to throw at Jokic and knock him off his game. However, you still have Jamal Murray, right? You still have Michael Porter Jr. You still have Christian Braun. And so this is a fun one. But like I said, I gotta go with the Clippers. I think Chris Dunn, he's going to need to have a big game. Bogdanovich, guys like Derrick Jones Jr., Ben Simmons.
No question.
Like you got to even think about
who Ben who?
No, I'm saying, look, I get it, right? I get it, but he's going to have to come
sure, especially defensively
and give them minutes. You're another big body out there, right? You're another ball handler out there. You're another passer. You're not a scorer. We get it, but you can do everything else, and we're going to need that if you're going to beat the Denver Nuggets in a 7-game series. Add in the fact that they are still underneath the new head coach. Now, yes, they finished 3-0 under them, cute, but is it going to be the same Michael Malone Denver Nuggets that we've seen in the playoffs? Is the oomph still going to be there? Joker is going to be Joker, but is Jamal Murray going to be Jamal Murray? Right? Will he be able to feed off of their present interim coach the way he was able to feed off of Michael Malone? Is this team going to be able to rally around this coach in playoff time? Because how can I say this? Yes, you were part of the pro coaching staff with Michael Malone, but you were behind him. You were down here on the hard side. Now you're up here. Ty Lue is a championship head coach. Right, he is a championship head coach. He's been on top of the hierarchy and won a ring. Right, he was part of one of the greatest final runs that we've ever seen in history. So that's where I got to give the edge to Clippers, because you have Ty Lue, you have Kawhi Leonard, who's playing at the right time, great. You have James Harden playing great at the right time, and when you have that. And the team that they have, I believe that they have a chance, and they might be able to pull this thing off against Denver.
So I agree with just about everything you said. And obviously, I mean, the two best players in the team are obviously Kawhi and Harden. And if I didn't have questions about Kawhi's health and James Harden's playoff demons, which I will admit to you, Arthur, I still think at some point in the playoffs we are going to see those in a critical game 5, 6, or 7. If I didn't have those questions, Charles Barkley, who we know has crazy opinions sometimes, but Charles Barkley said the other day he had them as the second best team in the West. I don't think that's an insane take. The way they've been playing recently, I think they have the best record in the league since the All-Star break, tied with Oklahoma City and Boston. So it's not just perimeter defense, and you mentioned guys, Derrick Jones Jr., Ben Simmons. It's perimeter scores, and if there's one thing that Denver does poorly, it is play defense. They've gradually gotten worse since they won the championship in 23. When I think even then they were like the 12th best defensive league, so they were fine. They were above average. This year they've not been good at all, and again. Respect to Jokic, but that is by far the weakness in his game. He is not a good defender. And so I think Zubac could have a field day with him in the paint. And so I'm going to be with you. Out of respect to Jokic, I'm going to give the Nuggets 2 wins in the series. But I'll be honest, if Jokic were on the level of, again, like a Zubac, who's a top 6, 7 center in the league, I would have the Clippers in 5 games in this. I think they match up really well against Denver. I think it'll be a fun series. We'll see close games. But I'll go Clippers in 6 over the Denver Nuggets. Back out east, Madison Square Garden, game 1 between the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks. So Knicks are obviously favored to win the series. The Pistons have been obviously the shock of the NBA, winning 44 games. Not to spoil my Coach of the Year vote, but that's who I think it's going to go to, or who I think it should go to, who I would vote to, and JB Bickerstaff. Cade Cunningham has been awesome this year. Listen, there's been a lot of rumblings. Tom Thibodeau could lose his job if the Knicks lose the series. I think if the Knicks win, advance to play Boston, get dusted, I think Tibbs is gone. Is this going to have to be a series like last year against Philly where Brunson just goes crazy, 40 burgers every other game? Or do you think they can be more like a team effort where Mikal Bridges can chip in? Pistons, I think the Pistons haven't won a playoff game in like 15 plus years. Yeah. And so where are you at in this Knicks-Pistons series?
I'm going to give the edge to New York only because of the fact they have playoff experience. But and we know this with Tom Thibodeau teams, this is going to hurt. This is going to be a dogfight of a series. Detroit Pistons are they've gotten back to the old way of playing Detroit Pistons basketball. We're going to be physical with you. We're going to talk our stuff. We don't give a dag on who you are. We're going to come out and we're going to play physical and we're going to take it to you, right? And so when you have when you have that, right, and you go into when you're going to the Knicks who have this coach who loves to run his players into the ground. Yep. Right. This isn't the first time we've seen this. This goes all the way back to his Chicago Bulls days with Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson, and all of them. Right. He did it in Minnesota. So everywhere he's been, this has been his mantra. Good or bad, it doesn't matter how good the team has been. They always are at the end of the season and come playoff time. It's like, dang, like, how much more do I have to do this? Because I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like Josh Hart, happy for him, happy that he's got the heart and the body to be able to play every single minute of every game. Right. Long term, though, is that something that I really want to do? Mikal Bridges, is that something that I really want to do? Right. And so I believe they have this series. I believe they'll be able to take advantage of the fact that besides Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., and maybe a few other guys on that team, they don't have a lot of the Pistons don't have a lot of playoff experience. They're still a young team, so you're not going to get the calls that Jalen Brunson is going to get, a Karl Anthony Towns is going to get, not even a Mikal Bridges that he's going to get. You're not going to get the satisfaction or the grace, right, of a well-experienced playoff team. This is just a bump in the road that the Detroit Pistons are going to have to overcome and realize, okay, we still got growth to get to another level and to get the respect from the league, from teams, from the referees to give us these calls that we want, right? Because they are a really great defensive team. But it's just a question. They're a really good defensive team. But it's just when you play against these other teams, man, that everybody knows is a lot better than you and they respect more than you, then that whistle is going to come for them, right? When they played Shea, when they played Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's the game that Cade Cunningham got ejected. And he's like, yo, like, what are we doing? These foul calls are atrocious. Like,
Bickerstaff went crazy on the media after the game, yeah.
And it's like, we're playing great defense. Like, this isn't fair. You're right. It's not, but this is the NBA, right? They're just they know who they're going to give calls to and who they're not. And you're one of the teams, unfortunately, where you're not going to get the call. And it's been an amazing season for y'all. Again, nobody saw this coming. Y'all have a chance to do something that y'all haven't been able to do in a decade and winning a playoff game and in a playoff series. So it's like Detroit feels like they're back on top, right? The Detroit Lions are playing well. And now the Detroit Pistons are back playing well. Hang on a second. We might have something. But dog, like, it's your first time back in a while. And this is the New York Knicks that we're talking about. Madison Square Garden, one of the meccas, if not the mecca of NBA basketball. You're not about to get this, right? We're not going to let you get this respectfully, right? There was Evan Turner told a story. I forget who it was, but when he was on the Philadelphia 76ers and they were playing Miami, and one of his teammates, one of his OGs on the team said, if we're not up by 15 by half, we're losing this game. And he was still a young player at that time. He didn't understand. He's like, what you talking about? Like, he's like, if we're not up by 15 at halftime, we're not going to win this game. And they ended up losing the game. And it's the same thing here with Detroit. If you're not up double digits by half, you're going to lose the game. Because then when it comes down to that fourth quarter, they're going to get those calls. Jalen Brunson, he's going to turn on. And he's going to make sure he draws contact. He's going to be physical with you. And you know what the referees are going to do? Blow that whistle and send them right to the free throw line. And then we're going to see the same Pistons team that kind of unraveled because it's like, yo, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm defending great. I'm not fouling. And then you just decide to blow your whistle and bail them out.
Well, I think something, too, is one thing that will play in Detroit's favor is that the playoffs are notoriously more physical. The refs are, I mean, I'm sure they have a committee. Hey, we're just going to let these guys play more often. Mm-hmm. We'll get to this on Oklahoma City as the playoffs go on, but that's kind of a concern I have for Shea. Brunson is a little bit different from Shea, where he's more of a crafty foul baiter, if you will, like just certain angles he'll take where Shea just throws his body, throws his hip into a guy and throws up a shot. So listen, my man John Rivera is in the comments. Shout out to John, fan perspective. He says, I got Detroit winning the series. I'll say this, this to me is the worst. If you had to go 6 seed on down to 10, which is Miami, this is the absolute positively worst matchup from New York, not from a we could lose the series standpoint, because I think the Knicks will win the series. Detroit's taking a pound of flesh off New York, and it's going to affect them. Listen, they're already, I think, kind of DOA against Boston the second round. We know how badly the Celtics have beaten them all season long. I'll go, listen, it was a theme of last year's show, last year's playoffs, Knicks and 6 on my show. I'll stick with that today, but these are going to be dogfight physical series. We're gonna, I mean, it's the 90s all over again, Arthur. We're gonna have some fights, some ejections. So it'll be fun, no question about that. But I got the Knicks. They're the better team. They will win this series. The question really is Tibbs, and I think the answer is yes. But is Tibbs going to throw out 7-guy rotations in game 1 and just roll the whole series and playoffs long? But yeah, I definitely think the Knicks will win this series. To your team now, Los Angeles Lakers. They play the Minnesota Timberwolves. Game 1's tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern at the Crypt. So listen, this is, I guess, a little bit similar to the Detroit and New York series, not in the physical aspect of it or physical nature of it, but where the Lakers are favored to win. They should be favored to win. I'm leaning that way. But I do feel like the Minnesota Timberwolves, from a physical standpoint, can push them and at least make the series hard on them. What I'm looking at, though, Arthur, is I think LeBron will be good. I think he will be kind of 23, 24 game. He's going to, be impactful in terms of distributing the basketball. I think Luka Doncic is going to play like a man on fire. This is his first playoff series post Dallas. Again, I mentioned earlier the interview with Malik Andrews. He's still crushed by that Dallas trade. And guess who he gets in round 1? Rudy Gobert, a guy he's been torching overseas in international play. He torched him when Gobert was in Utah. He torched Gobert last year famously in game 2 in the playoffs. And we know Rudy, I've done segments on this. His defensive rating goes down every single year in the postseason without fail. It's why I think the fact that his 4 DPOYs is a crime to the NBA. But what are you looking at in this series? This is your team, the Lakers. I think, listen, Ant's going to have to be Superman. But what are you looking at for this series for the Lakers and the Timberwolves?
Mike Conley is going to have to be Mike Conley is going to have to consistently give them a good 15-20.
It's going to be hard over the course of a series, yeah, especially his age.
And true. I know that's a wild thing to say, but when you just look at this roster, Ant is going to give you at least he's going to shoot for 30 every game. I'm just going to give you that. So Anthony is going to give you Ant's going to give you at least 30 every game. You got Julius Randle, who can be up and down, but Julius Randle needs to give me 20. I need a bona fide 20 to 22 points from Julius Randle. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. And I need Mike Conley to give me 15 to 20. I just need that. And yes, that is unfair to ask of him at his age, but that's what you need, because Jaden McDaniels was mainly there as a defensive guy. Rudy Gobert is mainly there as a defensive guy and a pick and roll dude. Dante DiVincenzo, he can come off the bench and give you at least 10 plus a couple of games. I believe that for sure. And he's a defensive-minded guy as well. So I believe that the Timberwolves can make it very competitive for sure. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, when they're in transition and they find him for a 3, or they're running an offense and they can find him for a 3 for a few of them, that's where that's where it's like, okay, like Minnesota can definitely make this a series. But I think that is going to be too much, because LA has 3 guys that can put the ball in the hole, with Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and AR-15, Austin Reeves, who I believe is their X factor this entire playoff series. Yes, Rui needs to play well as well. Jackson Hayes, he needs to play well. Gabe Vincent, Don Connect, if he comes in. Jared Vanderbilt, he's going to be there, the defensive-minded guy to take away the best offensive player whenever he's in. But I need Austin Reeves to consistently give me great games. I need Austin Reeves to consistently be efficient. And this is part of more part of the growth process for him, because I said it to you this a few weeks ago with Luka. I need Luka to consistently give me efficient games. I understand that you want to foul bait. I understand that you want to whistle, and I understand that you want to get to the free throw line. But I need you to I need efficiency to be at the top of your list. I know you want to shoot a lot of threes. I get that. AR-15 does the exact same thing, but I need you to get to the line. I need you to be efficient. I don't need you to be out here gun-hoing, even though that's part of your game. And when you do that, that's one of those things where it's like, dang, he made that. Like, what can we do? I understand that, but I need you to be locked in and disciplined, because Minnesota is not going to be one of those teams where they're just going to fold. They're going to follow Anthony Edwards to the finish line, right? He's going to do everything he can to get them there. Y'all need to be able to just know that that's not going to happen. Defensively, you need to make sure that doesn't happen. Defensively, you need to make sure that Anthony Edwards isn't able to get to his sweet spot. Led the NBA in three-point makes this year. So you know he's going to shoot the three. You need to get him to that mid-range. You need to make him get to the hole and see bodies. Run him off that three-point line, since he's improved dramatically in that all year. You need to do everything you can defensively to take him away and to take guys like Julius Randle away and make him have off games, right? Shrink the floor, because you know that he loves to go left. He loves that left hand. So shrink the floor and make him see a body or two, right? Whenever he goes paint, whenever he goes baseline, make sure he sees somebody else to where he has no choice but to get the ball out of his hands, and you have to rely on the other Timberwolves to win. I believe the Lakers will win this series. I give them 5. I have them winning this in a gentleman's sweep, right? I won't be shocked if Minnesota is able to push this to 6, but the Lakers, I believe, just have too much playoff experience. They have too much depth. They have a really great coach who, is more than just X's and O's and analytics and all that stuff. He's just somebody that really knows the game, and he knows his player, and he's not apologetic to not play a player or two, right, or 3, to make sure that this is a series that we win, because this is also part of being a professional and recognizing that, look, they may not need me this series. It doesn't mean that I can't stay ready, because they might need me next series. It's the same way that they did with the Lakers back in 2020 with JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard coming in that playoff time in the bubble. They didn't need them this playoff series, but they needed them the next one. So it's all just that part of that mindset of staying ready with Los Angeles, because they just have a whole lot of guys who can play basketball and have been in this playoff basketball position.
No question. I think the thing that is, it's funny. I feel like both of these teams have not a similar problem, but a cousin of the same problem. What I mean by that is the Lakers' best defenders aren't great offensively. Dorian Finney-Smith is kind of the exception to that rule. Dorian Finney-Smith can shoot the three. He can give you, 10, 15 points. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, their best defensive players aren't that good on the offensive end. And so that sort of conflicting matchup is going to be really interesting to watch. I think that ends up favoring the Lakers. John says Lakers in 7. Won't be surprised if Minnesota wins. I don't think if Cat were playing in the series, that would be critical. I think
that would be if Cat in this series, that would be definitely a different series. Like I said, space the floor. He's also, when he's locked in, he can play physical. Right, when he doesn't let the fact that he's not getting calls at times get into his head, he can still play physical basketball. But Ant's going to have to be Superman in this series, right? That's what I think.
Yeah.
This isn't, and this is a matchup where I'm also happy to see, because just last year he gets Phoenix, so he gets to go against KD, right? And I believe that's also one of the things that might amp up this Minnesota Timberwolves team. Is like, dang, we get to knock out LeBron James. True, right? He is.
And Luka, by the way.
Let me hold on, but I'm getting there though. We have a chance to knock off LeBron James. Cool, but you still got Luka Doncic that you're going to have to worry about. And he, as far as the guys that you're going to have to worry about going into this series, he's number 1. So, and that's where LeBron James being a number 2 or a number 3 works for his benefit, because if he goes and gives you 30, then it's like, wait, hang on a second, like the old guy gave me how much, and then AR pitched in how much, and Luka gave me, and it's like, wait, hang on a second, like whoa, right? So that's where, for me, where it's like, I believe this is going to be a quick series, in my opinion.
And the two things I worry about is listen, Julius Randle's next big playoff moment will be his first. Like that is been a consistent thing, is his game does not translate. Kind of similar I guess in some ways, Randle's better off the dribble, but similar to Domantas Sabonis in some way. Like again, both southpaw guys, but it's just gonna be really interesting to watch. I don't really trust Julius Randle in the 7-game series, and I certainly do not trust Rudy Gobert to give you good minutes on both ends of the floor. And with the Lakers, here's what really hurts Minnesota is when the Lakers go small, and they are a small team, that is devastating for Minnesota. And the reason the audience might have seen me smirking, I was not laughing at your points. I was laughing at a comment I saw from our friend Barry Grant Jr. Rudy Gobert, polar bear, I don't care. In the words of Shannon Sharp, I'll go and put it up. Lakers in 5. I agree with you. I do think it's a quick series. I think the Lakers win this one, but I think it'll be a little bit like that Mavs. Again, the last time Luka played Minnesota, I think it'll be like that Mavs Timberwolves series where it's a 5-gamer, but 3 out of the 5 games are dog fights, down to the finish. But again, I certainly trust Luka and LeBron to close games. With respect to Ant, but if you double Ant, who's that guy that's going to close for you? And the Timberwolves simply don't have that guy. I've said for nearly a year I don't rule out a Kevin Durant move to Minnesota, because we know how him and Ant are tight, and Team USA, I could see that materializing. Okay. This should be relatively quick. We'll transition back to the West, or stay in the Western Conference, I guess. The second playing game tonight in the West, you got Dallas Mavericks, Memphis Grizzlies. The reward for the winner of that game is they get to play 68-win Oklahoma City in round 1. Thunder they have I feel like the Thunder haven't played a meaningful basketball game in a month and a half or so. Like they've had the 1 seed locked in the West forever. Seems like the turn of the new year, basically. And we've kind of known they were going to be the 1 seed in the playoffs over Cleveland for some time. So listen, if Oklahoma City wins the title, they'd be the youngest team, I think, ever, or at least since the 77 Bill Walton-led, God rest his soul, Blazers to do it. Do you think Dallas or Memphis can make it a 6-gamer? Listen, I know, Ja, you never know. Anthony Davis is one of the 15 best players in the league. Do you see something crazy happening where it gets kind of weird?
Hell no. No.
I was just asking.
So respectfully to Dallas, you don't have Kyrie Irving. Anthony Davis, old, brittle, and I hate saying that about AD, but you just never know when he may or may not go down. Klay Thompson, the way he played last game against Kings, that's not going to happen consistently. Respectfully to him, Najee Marshall, no. No. The only way OKC loses this series is if everybody just does not show up to the game.
Yeah.
That's how
Well, listen, this is it's not the Los Angeles Thunder. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. And, I don't think traffic's going to be a problem for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams and company. So, again, not a shot at the city of OKC, but that's not going to be a problem. I'm with you. I got Thunder in a sweep. I think the Thunder sweep either Memphis or Dallas. Memphis has quietly been, I should say quietly, but they've been one of the worst teams in basketball over the last month and a half. And
which makes me mad, dude. And it just sucks so much, because for a team that has all these really good players and they've been together for a while, especially Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr., you still just see that they still play young. They still play, highlight.
Coach wasn't the problem, Arthur.
They still play like highlight type basketball. Right. And I'm like, losing Tyus Jones hurts. Right. Because he was one of the best point guards at assist to turnover ratio. And he was able to just lead that bench. And Scottie Pippen Jr. has played very well for them, but he's not Tyus Jones. Right. That's where having him was very, very nice coming off the bench. And you don't have that anymore. And then when other guys like Brandon Clark goes down and Steven Adams leaves to go to Houston, that's just one of those things where it's like, dang, like now we don't even have a reliable big or two that we can go to on the bench. So it's just frustrating, because I just expect this jump from Memphis year after year, the last 2 years, and it just hasn't happened. And shoot, I thought they were going to beat Golden State in that first playing game. I thought they were going to beat them.
You're the only one, Arthur.
I was like, okay, you know what? They're playing well in the first quarter, and then they go down. I'm like, okay, they're losing, but they still got time left. And then when the fourth quarter came around, I'm like, okay, they're making this a game. They jump out. I'm like, okay, all you have to do is just stay disciplined. Just play disciplined basketball. Get to and it goes back to a possession that I remember just seeing in that game. John Moran is coming on a fast break opportunity. Draymond Green is guarding him, right? Draymond's backpedaling, and Zach Edey is running with Ja. And Draymond Green, with the great defensive season he's had, Ja threw the lob. Draymond tipped it away. Now we have a Memphis Grizzlies turnover. I'm pretty sure Golden State was up 3 at that point in time.
That was late in the game. That was with about 2 minutes left. Yeah.
They come down. Steph Curry hits a 3 to put them up 6, and it's just a backbreaker. And it's just like you're a few disciplined basketball possessions away from winning that game. You're a few disciplined basketball possessions away from winning that game and going into a playoff series against the Rockets with enormous confidence. And that would have been a fun series to watch. Two young teams. One of them, it seems like significantly more of the rise with the Rockets than the Grizzlies, but it's still the Grizzlies, right? Houston, Memphis, like that would have been such a fun playoff series to watch. But discipline, dog. That's their biggest. That's the Memphis Grizzlies' biggest word that they're just going to have to continue to work on as they continue to grow with each other. Is just discipline.
And the thing, I'm being God's honest. I'm not lying to the audience or to you when I say this. As a Warriors fan, there was never a second I thought we were losing that basketball game, Arthur. Not a second, because I know what Memphis does in these spots. I know what the Warriors, and forget like this being a Warriors great in the clutch discussion. I know what Memphis does in these spots late. I mean, was it not fitting? 5 seconds left, down 3, 5-second violation. And the refs might have been a little quick to blow the whistle, but still, the fact that even is even positioned to happen shows you how discombobulated Memphis is. Fired coach. I mean, we're talking more about hand grenade celebrations than winning basketball games. So like that's where we're at. The Memphis Grizzlies. My man John Rivera is in the comments again. He says Ja will get you one. He might. I could see Ja going nuts in a game 4, trying to avoid a sweep. And Oklahoma City's like, we'll close them out back home. We're a young team. Rest isn't as important for us as it is to other teams. But I just Memphis has been absolutely falling apart in the second half of the season. And Dallas, like you said, AD health. I'm pulling for Klay Thompson, obviously, but it's just not a realistic premise. Listen, not that the narrative has been that this could actually be a series, but I heard more than one respectable analyst on television the last few days say, hey, listen, Orlando could push Boston. Can you detail why that is? Listen, here's what before you go, here's what I will say. No team was more successful defending the 3-point line against the Celtics than Orlando, and that matters because no team shoots more threes than Boston. I mean, that is their offense. They are jacking a ton of threes. So that is Jamal Mosley. That is a defensive-minded team. The problem is I think I saw a stat where there was like 20-something games, Arthur, where they didn't break 100 points. And so like that's kind of been their bugaboo the last few years. I'm a huge Paolo Banchero fan. I have been since his days at Duke, but they can't beat Boston. Like, come on.
The reason why you hear people saying that is because we know Boston has a tendency to play down in their competition. There's no reason in the world Boston doesn't sweep this team. All respect to the Orlando Magic. There's no reason why Boston wouldn't sweep this team. They shouldn't. Wow. Mumbling my words. There's no reason why Boston Celtics should not sweep the Orlando Magic. You have playoff experience. You just won the championship last year. You have you do. You have one of the 2 best tandems in the NBA with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, arguably number 1. Porzingis, you never know when he can give you 20. Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, another great defensive-minded guard. And then you have Joe Mazzulla. They have the recipe, literally, to sweep the Orlando Magic. But it's like you said, Orlando knows they're going to shoot threes. That's what Boston loves to do. They're right now what Golden State was years ago. We're going to live by the 3. We're going to die by the 3. The difference is there was a little light-skinned dude with the number 30 Aisha's husband running around the freaking court. And that's what they don't have. And ever since then, that's what every single team has failed to realize. It don't matter who you have on your team that can shoot. You still don't have that guy, Stephen Curry, on your team. So if I'm the Boston Celtics, yo, look, clean them up as fast as you possibly can. Right? There's no Paolo Banchero, really great player. And I'm excited to see what he continues to do for that franchise in the future. Franz Wagner, same thing for him. Wendell Carter Jr. has proven to be an enormous addition for them. Cole Anthony just gave you 26 against the Atlanta Hawks, and I was just like, yo, who the hell are you feeling like? Who are you?
He was like, who's the best Anthony in that family, right? Like, you're watching, you're like, dang.
Like, wow, oh my goodness. Anthony Black gives you good minutes. So,
yep.
But no, Austin exceeds at every level, from player to position to that player plays into coaching. No, there's no reason why Orlando should make this a series. But do I feel like they have the opportunity to? Yes, because Boston's going to be like, we playing tonight? Nah, we chilling.
Yeah.
We are the better team. We know that. No, bro. Just take care of your food real quick. Because again, you're such a great team and you're such a better team. Where it's like you can clean this matchup up real quickly and worry about who you're playing with next while you're on the couch. All right, we chilling, right? We're watching who our next matchup is. Okay, cool. But you want breaks, right? When you're that great of a team, you want breaks. For some, no, you don't, because it might affect continuity, it might affect your body, it might affect how much of a rhythm that you're in. The Boston Celtics are such a great team where breaks will not matter to them. When they step out on that court, they're going to be ready to face whoever and get the freaking series over with. And that's how the mindset should be going against Orlando. Okay, cool. They love contesting us against the three. All right, we're just going to take them inside. We have Kristaps Porzingis. We have a lot of big bodies that we can throw at them. So, yeah, Boston Celtics have no excuses, in my opinion.
You're no question about it, especially in this series. And I think I remember talking about them last year in the playoffs and the lead up to them winning the title and it was so weird. I'm like, I don't worry about them on the road. I think their one road loss was game 4 in the finals when Dallas was just trying to avoid elimination.
Yep.
And if you look at the Tatum Brown era, their biggest wins have come on the road at Philly or Milwaukee or Miami. Like, those are the big wins that have come. At home is where they've really struggled. They lost a game 2 in 2 separate series against Cleveland, I think without I think Donovan Mitchell, that was the game he got hurt in or was hurt in. And then the series before with no Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat beat Boston in game 2 at the TD Garden. So I am going to give Orlando a game out of respect to Paolo. The problem with Orlando is one of the reasons they're so bad offensively. I actually saw them in person when Steph dropped 56 on them. And Paolo, I think Paolo had like 38. They just don't get good looks. They just don't get open shots very often. And against a defensive team like Boston that just has all kinds of wing defenders that can throw at you, I'm with you. It should be a quick series. I'll say this, and you see my graphics there, Celtics in 5. If this goes to a game 6, I am ready to proclaim Boston is not winning the championship, because that shows me that you just don't have we have not had a back-to-back title winner since the Warriors in 17 and 18. And that shows me you don't necessarily have the fortitude to lock in for another playoff series to get it done. And again, something to keep an eye on is the Jaylen Brown knee stuff. Like, I don't think that's nothing. It's flown under the radar because Boston has won 60 games and they're an excellent basketball team. I think they're the best overall team in the league, but that's something to keep your eye out for. And that could be maybe a motivating factor. Boston might want to say, hey, let's just go and sweep these guys and get Jaylen some extra rest. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. John says, Ja or Trae Young needs to get traded to Orlando. I do think John needs a fresh start.
Why? Why
do you say that?
Why one of those two guys?
So I'll say this. I think Trae and Paolo would actually fit, because Trae can generate good looks for himself and others.
Yeah.
I could see it. I don't think it's a crazy idea.
He going to get in line? That's the only thing I ask. Is Trae Young going to get in line?
I get it.
Because hold on. Here's the other thing too. Along with that, they already have Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. So you're going to have to get behind 2 guys.
So that's that second apron. Yeah.
You know, it's like they already have their second apron. So it's like, are you cool with being the third? And if you're not, then it's like, no, I'm not bringing you, because we have plenty of other guys that just play their role. And that's the beautiful thing about Orlando is that they've been able to draft guys. They've been able to get guys that just play their role. You know what I'm saying? Who else? In my opinion, nobody. That's what I'm saying.
I love Jalen Suggs. It's an injury concern with him. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy.
And yes, and I'll give you that. But let them grow. This is the same thing that I'm saying with Memphis. You know what I'm saying? Except the difference is Orlando has been able to grow, and we see them playing at times very disciplined. Do they have an all-season problem with getting good looks and that stuff? Yes, but I believe as, again, they continue to grow each other, all of that stuff is going to just soothe itself out. But I believe they have a really good team where it's like we're not desperate enough that we need to go grab somebody. They don't need a big three because they technically already got a big two with Paolo and Franz.
Sure.
So I believe Orlando, with the road that they're going on now, will be fine. I believe they'll be fine.
I tend to agree. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's just a matter of time with those guys. I actually, my bold prediction before the season is I had them going to the conference finals. But then Paolo got hurt early and Suggs dealing with injuries. I'm not saying they would have because Cleveland has obviously had an excellent year. And let's transition now to the Cavs, who are obviously going to play the winner of tonight's Hawks Heat series. Again, I'll ask the same question with Oklahoma City. Now, I don't think Cleveland's as good as Oklahoma City, but is there any chance that it's Eric Spoelstra and Trae Young's been to a conference finals? Could they make it compelling? I'm not picking them to win, obviously. Could it be a compelling series against the Cavaliers, Arthur?
So currently Miami is up 10-0 against the Hawks. And
oh wow, okay. Yeah, that game's tipped off.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, your silence is deafening on this.
No. Tyler Hero is going to have to average 30. Sorry. That's what you're going to have to do. And it's going to have to be an efficient 30. Bam's going to have to give you 25 and something. More than 10 boards, without a doubt. He's going to have to give you 5+ assists because he is that type of big where he can pass guys open and give guys the ball and give them great looks. No. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Max Strus. No. Sorry, dude. No.
Yeah. No, they don't have those guys. But
if Atlanta were to win, if Atlanta were to come back and beat Miami tonight, and I say come back like the game didn't just start a few minutes ago, Miami were to win, their best bet would be Dyson Daniels does what Matthew Dellavedova did with Steph Curry, and he's going to have to be on the oxygen tank after every freaking game. You're going to have to, whoever you guard, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, one of those two guys, you're going to have to play exceptionally well against them game in and game out, and that's going to have to go on for a 7-game series. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either. And I think that, again, just Miami doesn't have enough scoring options outside of, again, Bam's a guy who kind of has to be, he's got a good mid-range, obviously, but will he give you that game to game? That's why Jimmy was so successful for as long as he was. And Tyler Hero, as excellent here as he has had, I think it's a hard case to make that he's, going to.
I forgot about Andrew Wiggins, though.
Listen, I know the guy as well as anybody, and he's a good two-way player. He's obviously good in the defensive end of the floor. My guess is he'll probably take Donovan, if I had to guess.
I'll give
Tyler Hero, they'll put on somebody else.
I'll give them 2 games. I'll give Cleveland 2 games.
Really?
I'll give Cleveland 2 games.
You mean
Miami? I'll give Miami 2 games just because, dude. I still think that. Like I said, bro, there's been so much going on in this NBA season that I forget that Andrew Wiggins is on the Miami Heat.
He was the centerpiece that we got for Jimmy. Yeah.
He. Let me see. Hold on a second. So Tyler Hero gave you 38. Wiggins gave you 20, but it was an inefficient 20. He was 8 of 20 and he was 4 of 9 for 3. I need an efficient 25. If Tyler Hero is going to give you 30, I need you to give me 25. Bam Adebayo went 6 of 16, 1 of 5 from 3 for 15 points. Nah, I don't need a $15. I need 20 from you.
And you talking about Wiggins getting 25 or Bam?
I'm talking about Wiggins, because you see in this one
that's not happening.
He had 4 more shot attempts. You had 20. Bam had 16. If you better use them shot attempts, them 4 more shot attempts and buckets. I ain't got time for you breaking, buddy. If you're going to have 20 shots, right? If you're going to have 4 more shots over the guy who's been our second best player, dang near the entire time he's been here, second, third best player since the entire time he's been here, then you better give me at least 25. I need that from you. And if you're not going to do that, then you better get them 4 more shots to him.
Yeah, no, 100%. But even in the Boston finals, Wiggins maybe averaged 20, 21 points, and he was really. By the way, he was excellent in that series. But that's not really in him, Arthur. That's just not his game.
But you also got to look at who was the team that he played his role for that team, though.
He did.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't want to shortchange Wiggins at all because he was instrumental in that run. What I'm saying is, I mean, obviously, go back to Zay in Minnesota. He's not an alpha, and that's not his game.
Look, we know
I'm
not a hero. I just need you to be the beta and give me 25. That's all I need. If you're gonna play 4 more shot attempts than Bam Adebayo in a playing game, I need you to give me 25. You can give me 25, dude.
If he can have like a streaky 3-point shooting stretch, maybe it happens. But yeah, I'm with Cavs in 5. And by the way, Ty Jerome is actually a potential 6th man of the year candidate. He's been good as well. But Donovan, Evan Mobley, and Garland have obviously been the heads of that snake. And finally, my team now, Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets. I think they said it's the second time in the last 30 years where a 7 seed has been favored to beat a 2 seed. So it's so there's a number of matchups I'm looking at. Obviously, Houston has got a lot of rangy defenders. Amin Thompson's going to guard Steph. Last time he guarded Steph, everybody's been talking about it. Steph shot 1 for 10 and scored 3 points. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Steph does not average 3 over the course of a series. But this is the classic. It reminds me a little bit of a better defensive team that the Warriors played the Kings 2 years ago. We have these young athletic guards, Jalen Green, kind of the primary guy, whereas Şengün's sort of playing that Sabonis role that the Kings had 2 years ago, and the Warriors gonna have to find a way to get good looks. Difference is the 2023 Warriors did not have Jimmy Butler, who there were questions about. Is playoff Jimmy gonna? Playoff Jimmy showed up and showed out against the Memphis Grizzlies. He led the Warriors in scoring, even though Steph Curry scored 37. So that tells you a lot about what Jimmy did. He'll be great. I'm not worried about him at all. When the moment gets brighter, he's some of those single-digit scoring games, he was saving some gas in the tank for another playoff run here in Golden State. So the Draymond Şengün matchup is going to be fascinating with Draymond playing the 5. The depth of Houston is going to be fascinating against the depth of Golden State. Ime Udoka is a great defensive coach. Steve Kerr's a great all-around coach. What are you looking at in this series for my Warriors and the Rockets? Because I think it will be a fun watch.
Jabari Smith Jr. being out is going to hurt them, because that would have been another body you could have thrown in there to play. Wow, can't speak. That would have been another body you would have been able to throw in there to be a big man. Right. And so I believe, look, the season Amin Thompson has had, especially defensively, I'm like, there's Dyson Daniels, you got Thompson, you got guys like Derek Wright, Drew Holiday, you got Draymond Green, who had a really good season. It's like the defensive guys definitely showed up and showed out this year. But you can't, it's like you said, though, Jimmy Butler wasn't on that team. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, cool, you take away Steph Curry, but you're going to have to worry about Jimmy Butler. You're going to have to worry about Podziemski. Hang on a second. Bro, Post, that dude is cold, bro.
Stretch 5, my man. Outside of Boogie Cousins kind of was this when he was there with the Warriors for years. The Warriors in this dynasty have really never had a stretch 5 ever. And so Quentin Post, you mentioned that, who was our 2nd round pick for crying out loud. I think he went like 52nd at a Boston college. He's been a godsend off the bench. I think he will get serious minutes against a team with Houston with size. So sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. I do love me some Quentin Post.
Nah, for real. So, and again, it goes back to playoff experience, right? And this is loaded with 2 champions, a guy that's been to the finals. It's loaded with 3 champions because 4. Because Gary Payton, Gary Payton Jr.,
Moody, Gary Payton, Kuminga. Yeah, there's a lot of guys won that title in 22. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't say 5 because what are y'all doing to Kuminga, bro? That's a question for another day. That's a question for another day. Honestly,
he's not going to be the team next year.
Yeah, that's going to suck. Kevon Looney, it's the same thing with too much playoff experience. Y'all have plenty of champions on here. You have Butler, who's been in the finals twice. You have a really great Hall of Fame coach in Steve Kerr. And Houston's young. They're growing still. And this isn't a bad thing if they were to lose. Like, oh my goodness. Like, no, it's the freaking Golden State Warriors. And it's the Houston Rockets, a young Houston Rockets team. They, at the end of last year, when they were hooping, I was like, oh no, next year is going to be, they're going to be fun to watch this next year. And then they got Ime Udoka. it's always like, oh snap, like they're really about to be a fun team to watch. They're going to be a fun team to watch as time goes on, right? It's the same thing with Orlando. They're going to be a fun team to watch. Detroit, fun team to watch as the years go on. It's just that it's not your time right now. Sadly, it's just not your time right now. You're going against experienced guys, experienced coaches. Some of them are champions. Some of them just know how to turn it on and just get the series over with and get the things out the way. And with even though this is a 2-7 matchup between the Houston Rockets and Golden State, it doesn't feel like a 2-7 matchup to me.
It's not, the Warriors are not a, this is going to sound dumb, but they're not a real 7 seed with how, obviously, how they play in the second half this year. And listen, I mentioned to you earlier that my bold preseason pick out east was Orlando getting the conference finals. That's obviously not going to happen. But my bold pick out west, I had the Houston Rockets as the 3 seed before the season. And so they got the 2. They were, again, I'm with you. I think they won like 11 straight games toward the end of last year. And I'm with you. That's when I started taking notice. Like, okay, we know they have the coach. We know they have the young talent. Jalen Green as a superstar on that team. But listen, you can have Jalen Green, Wolverine, Lightning McQueen. It don't matter. Warriors in 6, Arthur. It don't matter. Warriors in 6. They take care of Houston. They advance to the second round and play the Lakers, which will be, oh my gosh, Steph and LeBron for another matchup. But the thing too, also, because I did a post-game reaction to Warriors Grizzlies the other day, and the thing that I forgot to mention was when there was all this panic when the Warriors lost to Clippers, like, oh my gosh, now they just missed out on a whole week of rest for these old guys, Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. What I said was, or what I thought was, okay, you take care of Memphis. You still get 4 days off. Yeah. Not only that, game 1 Sunday, 2 days off. Game 3 is Saturday, 2 days off. There's 2 days off between 1, 2, and 3, and then after that, it's an every other day series. So the Warriors are going to be able to get rest. Listen, I don't think it'll be 5. I think 5's Houston's too talented of a young team in order to go out that badly. But listen, if there's one thing that I know, Arthur, about Steph Curry, and it's one of the things I love the most about him, it's that, he plays the aw shucks, he's the nicest guy ever. He's the pettiest human being I've ever seen in the NBA. He
don't get it twisted. He's an asshole for sure.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Steve Kerr kind of alluded to that. He had no question. Steve Kerr mentioned he's the nicest human being he's ever met away from basketball, and he is a what on the floor. And Ime Udoka had a quote recently when they held Steph to 3 points when he's like, when you see physical defense, it's a different story. You think foreign defense physical defense is foreign to Steph Curry? Yeah. Amin Thompson, I think Amin Thompson is going to be a superstar in the NBA when it's all said and done. I think that kid has unreal potential, but there's no way on planet Earth he's going to shut down Steph for a series. So once again, listen, Shingun, watch a cartoon, Looney Tune, Warriors in 6. That's all I got to say, Arthur. You already know what it is. Come on now.
That'll and this is where in the Houston Rockets growth, in the Detroit Pistons growth, in the Orlando Magic's growth, they realize that playoff seeding matters because you get home court advantage. Golden State has been here, done that. The Nuggets and the Clippers has been here, done that. The Lakers with LeBron James, Luka Doncic, JJ Redick, even been there, done that. This is the same thing as well with Minnesota. Pacers and Bucks been there, done that. But these real young teams, this is where you're going to find out, like, okay, the entire year really matters for us because we need home court advantage. If we can get those first 2 games in our building, that's going to be huge. And then the next step is we can't lose one of those games. We need to win both of them because now we really put the pressure on them to win both games at home. And if we sneak one on the road, hey, we're up 3-1 or we're up 3-0. Right? It's either going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. So it's just a continuing growth process for a whole lot of these young teams that I'm excited to see. But like I said, it's a lot for all of them, in my opinion. It's just not going to be their year. Houston, Detroit, Orlando. It's just not your year.
And I think last point I'll make on the Warriors Rockets series is, so I think the way it plays out is Warriors win game 1, Rockets 2. Warriors win the next 2 at home. Rockets hold serve in game 5. Warriors close them out in 6. I think another thing too that we see this all the time with you mentioned young teams in the playoffs, and Houston's a prime example of this. What did we see in the bubble in 2020? It was the strangest thing ever, where these young teams were knocking out the old guys. The Lakers were the only exception. It's like, wait, because this was when Jokic and Murray were young guys. Like, man, they knocked out the Clippers, like Kawhi. What? When the Bucks were knocked out by the young Heat, like how did that happen? The reason for that is not just young guys playing on the road. We talk about, young guys shrink under the road atmosphere. Young guys also ebb and flow with the momentum of the home crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I say that to say, this Houston team, none of those guys, Steph Curry and the Warriors are 4-0 against the Rockets in this dynasty. None of those guys were there for that.
Yes.
But their fans were.
Yes.
Those fans have seen Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, obviously back in the day, close them out. Those fans have seen Draymond Green lock down good perimeter offensive players in the playoffs. So if you get late in these game 1s or 2s and Steph's going on run, and it's like you hear the crowd, it's here we go again. That feeds into the young guys understand that and they feel that. So I think that's gonna be something to watch out for in this series. Arthur, this has been as fun of an hour, jam-packed with NBA playoff talk as I can remember. Tell everybody where they can find. I know you don't necessarily have a show quite yet. The Grid, obviously, we got some stuff working behind the scenes. You're crushing an 8:00 spot, so just tell everybody about that.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. In being able to do research. I told you guys before, the process with everything is just fun. Getting the space together, part of the process has been fun. Doing research for 8:00 spot, it's been fun. Going on the show and then having to put, points together and be concise with it and the time allotted to me. All of it is fun. It's just part of the process to really getting to where you believe you want to be and where God wants you to be at. And so, yeah, man, it's all been fun. And I'm going to use the next few months going into next season to just make sure everything is the way that I want it to, make sure that when I start off next season, it's a home run.
Arthur Hurst, always a good time. You've gotten better by the day since you've been at the Grid. We've become friends over this time, and I cannot wait to see how you continue to progress, my man. Have a good one.
You too, boy.
Arthur Hurst doing with some great stuff here on Carving Up Live. Yeah, listen, he's really smart guy, young guy, really, really in tune with, you heard sort of his breakdowns of a series, particularly on the defensive side of the floor. He's been an outstanding addition to the Grid. He's become a friend of mine. So shout out Arthur Hurst. We will be back in just 1 minute to discuss my NBA awards picks. Stay tuned to Carving Up Live. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. So before we get out of here, we're going to do a segment where I do my NBA awards. So we're doing all of the most MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and then my favorite thing is to go over first team, second team, third team, all NBA. So how we'll do this is we'll postpone MVP to the end because that's always the one that gets all the buzz, especially this year. The SGA versus Jokic discussions kind of gone back and forth. I feel like it's been going. I feel like for a while it's going to be. It's if I can speak English today, I felt like for a while it's going to have gone to it would have gone to SGA. Lately, I feel it's trending towards Jokic as of late. I mean, Bill Simmons is one of the most influential voices of basketball media, and he mentioned he's we talked about it earlier. He mentioned he's going to vote for Jokic or has voted for Jokic because the numbers are just absurd. And so, get to MVP at the end. What we'll do, I mean, if we can get the background music going for this. So my NBA awards, here we go. Okay, so we will start. Where do we want to go here? Okay, so let's go backwards. We're going to go clutch player of the year. So this has kind of been a back and forth. This award debuted in 2023. I wish the NBA would have introduced it, pre-Magic and Bird era, so pre-1979, which is kind of like the modern era in the NBA, because I would have been really fascinated. Jordan would have gotten it, Bird would have gotten it, LeBron, like all these guys. Steph would have had more. So Steph Curry won it last year. De'Aaron Fox won it 2 years ago. This year, I think it's going to another guard, Jalen Brunson. He will be your clutch player of the year. Statistically, again, this is kind of like the analytics award to a certain degree because you got to look at second and third level stats, but comparable to Steph and De'Aaron, the last two are the only two clutch player of the award winners. His numbers have been comparable. His field goal percentage has been excellent. I think he averages like 7 points or so per clutch time. He's been excellent. So Jalen Brunson is the clutch player of the year. The coach of the year, I think, goes to JB Bickerstaff of the Detroit Pistons. Listen, there are a number of excellent candidates. You can look at Ime Udoka with the Houston Rockets. You can look at a number of other guys. JJ Redick, I think, with the Lakers, it has to be at least considered for that award. Kenny Atkinson, former assistant with the Warriors, has done an unreal job in Cleveland. But, and again, sometimes with this award, we often just give it to, hey, which coach overachieved with the least level of talent? And I don't want to shortchange the Pistons when I say that. I don't think this necessarily applies to this. The reason I say that, this Pistons team last year was the joke of the basketball world. Folks, there was a point in time where they lost 29 games in a row. That's an NBA record. They lost 29 basketball games consecutively. Year one, JB Bickerstaff, playoffs, 44 wins, 60. Don't even need the play-in. We're going to match up with the New York Knicks in a 7-game series starting tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. So I think Bickerstaff's done an unbelievable job. He's been in a number of stops. I think he's done a great job, so give it to him. He is my coach of the year. Most improved player, I think it's close, but I think it goes to Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyler Hero certainly has a compelling case, but I'm giving it to Mobley. And again, team success does matter for these awards, which is partly why I'm giving it to Mr. Mobley. You look at his numbers: 18 points, 9 rebounds, shoots like 55% from the field. Is obviously excellent defensively. In a couple of years, he will be that guy in Cleveland. Darius Garland's an excellent guard. Donovan Mitchell, we know what he brings to the table, but in about 2 years from now, this needs to be their number one guy on the squad. He's solely been progressing towards that. Coming into the year, there was sort of this like, man, is Evan Mobley's he's good, but he's kind of underachieved. This year, he stepped it up on both sides of the floor. He is my most improved player of this NBA season. Sixth man of the year, close, but I would decide to go with Peyton Pritchard of the Boston Celtics. So it's funny. A year ago, it felt like the Peyton Pritchard's job on this squad was come in at the end of halves, at the end of quarters, and knock down a half-court shot. He did it a couple of times in the finals against the Dallas Mavericks, and he's certainly been an asset on that side. But he's improved tremendously. He averages 14 points a game. As a small guard, shoots 47% from the field off the bench. This season shot 40% from three-point range. Listen, for a team like Boston, where the entire lifeblood of their offense is the three-point line, he has been the guy to be able to get the job done off the bench. Peyton Pritchard is my sixth man of the year. Rookie of the year. Shout out to this young man at a UConn who is going to lead the charge for what's going to be a really fun Spurs team for years to come. By the way, prayers for Pop. Nothing but the best towards him. But Pop's team that he's hopefully going to come back potentially and coach, Stephon Castle, is the rookie of the year from the San Antonio Spurs. This kid is something special. Okay, you talk about what he's done this year. If I can pull up his numbers. There we go. Averaged 14 a game. Distributes the ball, athletic. When you pair him with De'Aaron Fox, when this team is fully whole next year moving forward, they're not winning the title next year, but you got Castle, you got De'Aaron Fox, you got Wemby as the centerpiece of this entire experiment. This kid gets to a spot easily, as easily for any rookie that I've seen in some time. If he just continues to get better and better, he's going to be something special for years to come. I know the kid from Atlanta, Reese Shea, I think, who was the first overall pick, has been really good this year. Stephon Castle will be my rookie of the year in the NBA this season. Defensive player of the year, give it to my man from the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green. No guy in the NBA currently playing outside of probably Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis has been dealing with injuries. I don't even think he's eligible for the award. And AD should have a DPOY. It's a crime he doesn't have one, and that Rudy Gobert has 4. Point is, there is no player in this sport that can guard all 5 positions at an elite level like like Draymond Green can. I mean, in this new starting lineup the Warriors have had that has been so successful for them with Steph, Pods, Jimmy, Moody, and Draymond. Draymond is 6'6.5", I guess, playing the 5, guarding bigs. He's going to be on Şengün over the course of the 7-game series. The guy has been off the charts excellent on both ends of the floor. He's averaging the most steals he has since I thought he should have gotten it in 2021, the DPOY. Draymond's been off the charts. Listen, if Wemby were healthy, this might be unanimous. Wemby was, I think, still led the league in blocks, and he's been out since February. So Wemby, in a fair world, would be Defensive Player of the Year. The post-Wemby injury, Draymond Green is my Defensive Player of the Year. So we'll get to MVP at the end because I want to be able to make my MVP case as clearly as I can. Let's go now to all NBA teams. So if I can go and pull these graphics up, here we go. So first team, second team, third team all NBA. The first team all NBA is almost unanimous. Everybody agrees on who 4 of the 5 guys should be. The question is, who's the 5th? Should it go to the guy who's been more individually excellent in Anthony Edwards? Should it go to a guy who's been not as good as Ant on an individual basis, but has been on record-wise the second best team in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers, in Donovan Mitchell? Put up the list. This is what I've got. So the no-brainers, SGA, Tatum, Giannis, Jokic. Anthony Edwards is my 5th guy. So when you talk about what Anthony Edwards has done this season, it's the best scoring year of Ant's career. He's averaging 27.5 a game on solid efficiency for a volume shooter. He led the league in 3-pointers made this year over Steph Curry, and Steph was healthy throughout the course of this year. Knock on wood, that continues in the playoffs, and for Steph and for all these guys. But just the year-to-year progression with the kids off the charts, athleticism, shooting ability, and obviously SGA, Tatum, and Giannis and Jokic are the mainstays on first-team All-NBA. SGA continues to do the job as well. That is my first-team All-NBA. Second-team All-NBA. I've got Steph Curry, Jalen Brunson. There's Donovan Mitchell. It's kind of a debate between he and Edwards. He's on my second team. LeBron James, Evan Mobley. Okay, all of these guys have either been like 20-point-per-game guys, or in the case of Mobley, awesome the defensive end and is good, obviously an excellent rebounder as well. So that's my second team All-NBA. Third team All-NBA. James Harden, Darius Garland, Cade Cunningham, shout out to him on an amazing year. Jaren Jackson Jr., Karl Anthony Towns. Those are my 3 All-NBA teams this year. I thought about Halliburton for that spot over Garland, but again, team success does factor in. I'm giving Garland the edge. So finally, and I'll turn off the music here. So, and then we'll get out of here. The big debate is always for MVP. And there's some years where it's obvious. The year Steph Curry won unanimous MVP, some of those LeBron MVP seasons. Sometimes it's just clear cut. You don't even think twice about it. This is not necessarily one of those seasons. SGA is averaging 32-33 a game on a 68-win team. For the record, the Thunder became the 7th team in history to win 68-plus games in a season. The other ones are a Wilt 76ers team, the Steph Warriors, the 73 Warriors, 2 Jordan teams, the Lakers in 72. I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Or is that all of them? That's close. Yeah. So those teams won 68-plus games. And either they had an MVP finisher, or they had a guy in the case like the 72 Lakers who kind of split, kind of canceled each other out in the case of Wilt and Jerry West. This Thunder team is not that. Jalen Williams, I think, will continue to develop and be he's already an excellent player, he's an all-star. Chet Holmgren, we know what he's able to give you. This is kind of the separating factor for me. Because when you look at Jokic's numbers, you could not achieve this on 2K on rookie mode. Put up Jokic's numbers right here, okay? He's averaging 29.6. Let's be nice to Jokic and round that up to 30. 30 points, 12.7, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. Average a triple-double. They obviously gave Westbrook an MVP for averaging a triple-double in 2017. Nikola Jokic is shooting 57% from the field and 41% from three-point range. So ridiculous efficiency. Essentially a 30-point-per-game scorer, double-digit assists, double-digit rebounds. Statistically, he should run away with the MVP. Here's what I struggle with. There's a few things. The coach got fired. Now, listen, I'm certainly not. It's not Jokic's performance that got Michael Malone fired. That's to say the very least. But that did happen. Have we ever had an MVP where his coach got fired mid-season or late season? Mike Malone was fired with 3 games left in the NBA regular season. And so that's a question you ask. Number 2, we talk about, I'm big on precedent. This is why I argued that even with the numbers, disadvantage that Mahomes had to Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes led a 15-win team last year. He's a freaking Pro Bowler, okay? Like 15-win quarterbacks make the Pro Bowl in history. I would have had him over Joe Burrow, who couldn't even make the playoffs as even a 7 seed. The same sort of applies here to a lesser degree because Jokic and SGA are both awesome players. So are Mahomes and Burrow. You get my point. Where historically speaking, 68 wins. Wilt won an MVP when the Sixers, I think it was 1967, when they won 68 plus games. Wilt and Jerry West were on a 68 plus win team, and I think that was 1972. They essentially split the vote. They canceled each other out. The Steph 73-9 Warriors, Steph won MVP. There were 2 Jordan teams that won 60. There was the 72 win Bulls, and then the 69 win Bulls a year later, where Jordan, most everybody believed he was robbed by Karl Malone of the MVP in 1997. When people thought Jordan should have won it in that year, he should have won it that year. Historically speaking, you get MVP if you are on a 68 win team, particularly when the 68 plus win team, we don't view the Thunder as stacked. We view them as an excellent basketball team. Chet Holmgren has potential star upside. Jalen Williams is an all-star. Dagnall's a great coach. They've got Caruso and Lou Dort and Hartenstein. They're an excellent team. We don't view them even close in the same regard as we view previous 68-plus win teams. So that matters. And for the record, not on the same efficiency as Jokic. Go back and look at Luka's numbers last year and compare them to Jokic's this year. Efficiency goes to Jokic by a landslide. The raw numbers are pretty darn similar. I think Luka averaged like 33, 9, and 9 or something like that. Jokic is averaging 29, 12, and 10. Pretty close. Luka did not get MVP. I don't know if Luka even came in second for MVP, which I would have had him second behind Jokic last year. So team success advantage goes heavily to Shea. Scoring, that matters, goes to Shea. Historical precedent goes to Shea. And again, the margins matter. Shea's coach did not get fired. That has something to do with the conversation. So I am going with, if I had to vote, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to be my most valuable player. And again, do I have questions about his ability come playoff time to be able to sustain it? Particularly, I should say sustain scoring, yes. From the free throw line, when he's flailing his body into guys, not quite to the level James Harden is, but not that far off. It's a first cousin of it. I do have questions about that, and I certainly have questions about if Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren could step up come playoff time as the youngest team in NBA history to win the title, should they do that. But individually speaking, from a historical precedent, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be your MVP in 2025. That, by the way, does not mean Nikola Jokic is not the best player in the NBA, because I think he is. But if we went on best player in the NBA, how many MVPs would LeBron have? How many MVPs would Jordan have? Shaq. Shaq would have more than 1. Kobe would have more than 1. Bron would have more than 4. Jordan would have more than 5. I mean, that's if it went on best player in the world, which it's not an unfair thing. I'm big on the valuable part, and so I think being the best player in the world is pretty darn valuable. But that's where I'm at with this discussion. So SGA would be my most valuable player. And with that, man, fun live show today. Appreciate everybody tuning in. That is all the time we have for today's show. Check out Carving Up Live on Monday. That show will unfortunately not be live pre-taped, but tons of playoff reaction to the first round. That will also be the start of draft week in the NFL. We got some stuff cooking here at the Grid Network as far as what our draft coverage is going to be next Thursday. Definitely stay. Oh, sorry, I bumped my mic. Definitely stay tuned in for that. Cannot wait. And yeah, like I said, stay tuned. We got some stuff cooking at the Grid for our draft coverage. But check out Carving Up Live next Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube, as well as on the Grid Network's X. I also retweet it to my personal Carving It Up Twitter account, so it'll be able to be up there as well to check it out. And so, got to listen. This is a great time. NFL draft, NBA playoffs, baseball's going. Come on. Doesn't get better than this. All right. By the way, another shout out, Arthur Hurst. We got some stuff working behind the scenes where he can be able to have a podcast of his own, maybe coming this fall. He's a big college football guy, he's a big Ohio State fan, so that'll really be an avenue where I think he's going to flourish. You can check him out in the 8 o'clock spot every Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the week, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. That is our grid show, our game show at the Grid Network. Definitely check it out. This has been a fun show. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Chime in the comments, liking, sharing, hopefully subscribing. If you have not, take 2 seconds every day. Hit that big red subscribe button down there. It helps the channel grow exponentially. We will see you guys next Monday. Everybody stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.